Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Thank you for coming to our first recent candidates forum here at Dar Al-Hijrah. And thank you to all the candidates who have come today to speak to us in the community about their different campaigns and what they're up to. What we will do is we will start with one ayah or one verse of the Holy Quran, and then we'll have our civic engagement team member Samia translate that verse. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm for God, witnesses in justice, and do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. Be just, that is nearer to righteousness. And fear God. Indeed, God is acquainted with what you do.
Thank you very much. So let me start by introducing our civic engagement team members so that everyone knows who they are. If you're a civic engagement team member at Dar Al-Hijrah, please stand up. We have Ustad Ahmed, Sister Samia, where is Sister Thuraya, and Munya is back there, and Abdul Razak right here, and Sister Mora is back there. And what we will do is the following, is because we have so many candidates, we are going to split the questions into state level, county level, and school board. And I know we have a soils and conservation, so we'll leave that at the county level. So what we'll do is we'll start with a question from one of our civic engagement team members, and if I will take the prerogative of the moderator to assign that question to the level of the candidates that are here, if that works. And we'll have each of the candidates speak for 90 seconds on the question. And what Thuraya will do is, if you see a one finger, you've got 30 seconds left. If you see two fingers, you've got 15 seconds left. And if you see this, you know what that means, to please stop. Does that make sense? All right, so we will start with the first question, and I think Ahmed is going to ask that question.
Thank you for being here. I'm really happy because I'm coming from the Middle East, and finding all these delegates coming here, it is really a materialization of democracy in the state, I hope, inshallah. And my question is a general question about health, because we believe that universal health is a right for everybody, but we don't know how you're going to react to this, or how you're going to do it.
And I'm going to ask our state level candidates to start with that, and we will start with our current delegate, Alfonso Lopez. It's probably easier if you actually stand in your place. You can stay here now because you're here.
That's fine. I'll just stay.
Because I don't want you to lose time.
No, that's all right. Thank you. Well, healthcare is a privilege. It's not a right. My baby boy was born 2 months early and was in the NICU at Georgetown for 2.5 months. He's beautiful and healthy, 2 years old today. When we got the bill in October of that year, it was over $600,000. Without insurance, we would have had to declare bankruptcy. I know what it means for a family's finances if an accident or catastrophic illness happens. And that's why I fought so hard to expand Medicaid in Virginia and increase coverage for 400,000 people. It's why I work to maintain funding for free clinics in Virginia. It's why I helped pass legislation expanding healthcare access for immigrant mothers and children. And it's why I've organized and held multilingual healthcare enrollment fairs in the 49th District, where we are right now, for years. And it's why I'm going to fight for us to build on what we've done to expand healthcare coverage in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to go next to Kay Corey, our delegate from across the street. Here you go.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Well, it didn't used to be across the street. At one point, this was the 38th.
Yeah.
Good evening. I know that I have 90 seconds to talk about health care, but I just wanted to introduce myself briefly and remind you all that for the 9 years that I've been serving you, I have consistently fought for ambitious achievements that would be life-changing in terms of education, the environment, civil rights, criminal justice, and government transparency. And I hope you all realize that these have been efforts when there was a Republican majority that would not let much come out. However, I got to start the conversation, and I got to start the fights that nobody else would begin. And I'm very proud of that. About healthcare, Alfonso said a lot. We're all really pleased that we finally achieved Medicaid expansion and that the money it saved the Commonwealth we were able to put into additional health care. It's been a long, long fight. I've also been working on maternal mortality. You all may know that women of color in Virginia have a huge, huge risk of death in childbirth. And the medical examiner is working with me to gather data so we can devise new programs. I think so. Stay with me and we'll make big progress.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go next to the candidates running, and I'm going to have Yasmin Tayyib running for State Senate answer that question, then we'll go to the next delegate candidates.
Great. Thank you so much, Saif. As Saif mentioned, I'm Yasmin Tayyib. I'm running for State Senate right here in our district in the 35th. Healthcare is one of the main issues that myself and my team have been hearing on the doors while talking to voters since last September when I launched our campaign. At the federal level, I certainly support Medicare for all and ensuring that we do what we can to expand coverage in Virginia to eventually have universal coverage in Virginia. And I applaud my colleagues, our Democratic colleagues in the General Assembly who worked tirelessly to ensure that we expanded Medicaid to 400,000 additional Virginians that desperately, desperately needed it. What we need to continue to do is, as Alfonso mentioned, build on that. We need to ensure that we're fully funding our mental health care system. And in order to do that, I support increasing and raising taxes on the low taxes that we have right now on cigarettes to ensure that we pay for that.
Thank you very much. Next, I'm going to go to Andres and then JD. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. No, JD was, because Alfonso went first. So it's JD and then you.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And it's a pleasure being out here with you this evening. My name is Julius D. Spain Sr. Many call me JD. I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. And to what my good friend Alfonso has said, the current delegate, the 49th, and Yasmin, I can't agree more. Medicaid expansion, we did a great thing there, but there is more to do. There's a number of people still in the Commonwealth who don't have health care. What I would like to see happen as far as health care goes is see what we can do to get some more money down to the Department of Education to tackle on some of these issues, these health-related issues, depression, anxiety, that are affecting our kids, all right, because they are our future. So with that, there's always room for improvement. We're not done, but I would hope that if I'm elected and down at the state level as your delegate, that I will pick up the mantle and continue to fight for the interests and the concerns of the people here in the 49th and do a pretty good job at it.
Thank you. And next we'll have Andres Jimenez, who is also running as a delegate. So just so that you know, Dar Al-Hijrah sits on like a fault line, literally, or like a delegate line. So Delegate Corey and Andres are running for the district right across the street from Dar Al-Hijrah. So if you live across the street, Delegate Kay Corey is your delegate. Andres is running against Delegate Kay Corey, or primary. And then if you live in this area as well as Arlington, Delegate Alfonso Lopez is your delegate, and JD is running for that seat in the primary. Just a clarification, please.
It's really the best district in Virginia.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for having us tonight. My name is Andres Jimenez, and like Save said, I'm running the 38th District right across the street to help represent folks in the community. I'm an immigrant. There are so many immigrants in the 38th District, and your voice needs to be heard. Our voice needs to be heard. On your question, and thank you for that wonderful question, it's very important. Well, thank you so much. And working with delegates such as Alfonso Lopez, who have done so much on this issue, is the first step. But like J.D. Spain said, that's not the end of it. We need to continue to work with delegates. We need to continue to fight. We need to continue to ensure that low-income families have the universal health care, that everyone is afforded these privileges and rights. As a father of two, I know the importance and the cost of health care, and I understand that every single person in our district and all throughout Virginia deserve to be able to live free of thinking that their big bill isn't going to be coming from that, and that they are going to be able to afford health care.
Thank you. I am going to now go to a county level. From a county level, what are we doing in terms of making healthcare deeper and wider for people so that people have access? And we'll start with our supervisor, the vice chair of the Board of Supervisors of Fairfax County, Penny Gross.
Thank you so much, and good evening. I am Penny Gross. I'm your Mason District Supervisor. I'm running for re-election. I don't have a primary, so you won't see my name on the ballot until November. Healthcare, you know, we appreciate what they've done at the state for Medicaid expansion, but when you need a doctor or when you need some attention for your health conditions, you don't go to the state. You come to the county. We just opened across the street at First Christian Church on Tuesday, the new home of the Colmore Clinic. It's a free clinic. It's now going to be operating 3 days a week. And it is
Dar Al-Hijrah is on the board of it.
And Dar Al-Hijrah, yes, they were represented at the ribbon cutting. We also are opening a new federally qualified health clinic in the county. We've got a couple of them that also will provide free or low-cost health care. I also sit on the board of trustees of Inova Health System. I represent the county, and I am constantly reminding them of the need to do community. And so I also am the chair of the Environment Committee. We are just putting together a new Office of Climate Change and Energy. Clean air will go a long way to making sure that our population is healthy. If you can breathe clean air, you're going to be healthier. So we're also doing it on the environmental side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to Alicia Plerhopels. Alicia is running for the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, or chairwoman.
Yeah, chairman. Just chair. Yeah,
chair.
In this case. My name is Alicia Plerhopoulos. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. This isn't my first visit here, and I'm so happy to be back. In terms of healthcare, I agree. I think I recently spoke with some county employees who were talking about their high premiums and their inability to pay for health care, especially as they retire and have to foot the bill for their premiums. And you know, really what they want are either lower premiums or access to clinics, these health clinics that we can bring to the county. Now, my husband actually is a doctor, he's a physician, and he would love to volunteer and participate in some of these clinics. One that he recently was trying to, when we first moved to the area, was actually closed down. So I do think we need, it's wonderful to see that we're opening more healthcare clinics. I would just say too that we also need to think about mental health, and again, thinking about mental health for not only for our adult populations, which is served by the Community Services Board, but also for our children and the stress that they are facing in schools. And so additional counselors for them is something that I would advocate for. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're actually going to move this. Oh, I'm sorry. Erika Yalowitz is running for Providence District, and Providence District is west of here. So if you live, what was that? That's your district? Yeah, I live in Providence too. But if you live in West Falls Church, where it's Falls Church, Fairfax County, if you live up towards Oakton, that area is all Providence District. Erika.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here with you all. Some friends and familiar faces here. My name is Erika Yalowitz, and I am running for the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors in Providence District. I believe that healthcare is a human right. It is the most important thing for us to be healthy, to be working, to be productive, and to help our families. So, as Alicia mentioned, one of the issues with healthcare is the costs that many in our community are burdened with. So, mental health issues also affect our community and our schools. So it's very important to preserve these services and to make sure that we have healthy communities in Fairfax County. The options for partnerships should always be on the table. Public-private partnerships can benefit the community and also lower the costs of healthcare. So it is very important to keep this dialogue open and to make sure that everybody can access healthcare through a voluntary clinic or a county or private clinic. Lastly, I just want to invite you all, if you are in Providence, to make sure that you tell your friends, you tell your family that Erika Yalowitz is running in the Fairfax Providence District, and to vote for me on June 11th.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move this. Yes, what I want to stay on health for a second, then I'll come. But give me 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our school board candidates to talk about mental health in public schools, because that's something that I think we have an issue with. And instead of the school to prison pipeline that we have, unfortunately, if we can get more counselors in our schools, for example, or other things that you all will suggest, what is it that you would do to address mental health in our schools? I'm going to start with the school board candidate that is not in this district, because she's from Providence District, and then I'll come back to the school board candidates in this district. So, Jung.
Hello everyone, my name is Jung Byun. I'm running in Providence District, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm especially thankful to connect with this group because religion is very important to me. I grew up in a very strongly faith-based family, and I learned to look at God before men and to rely on God's strength and His power. And I do what I can to serve the people, which is why I decided to run. It's an act of service for me, especially education. And mental health is something that always hits so close to home because I have a really deep personal story around why this matters to me. And I saw how real it is, and that the conversation that we have around mental health doesn't fit the reality of mental health. And there's a lot that we can do as a school system. There are policies in place that that mandate the ratio of 250 students to 1 counselor, which is not enough. Our guidance counselors are overwhelmed to the point that we no longer call them guidance counselors, we call them school counselors. They need more support, and I have the data science background to dig into the $3 billion budget to find that funding to actually make it happen. And this is urgent. We need to act fast for this, because this environment of this technology-driven and isolating environment is hurting our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to go to Ricardy Anderson, who's running for Mason District School Board.
Good evening. As Saif said, my name is Ricardy Anderson. I'm running for Mason School Board. I have been a principal for over 10 years. I was a teacher for a number of years. I have been in schools for 23 years, so this issue is very near and dear to my heart. The ratios, while they're under what the state requires, it is still not enough, as was just said. Our counselors are overburdened with a lot of other tasks, a lot of other administrative tasks, which really prevent them from having access to students. When we say in Fairfax County we need to know students by name and by need, We need to have lower ratios so that if a student is having an issue, the counselor who's assigned to that student has enough background, enough touches, enough opportunities to engage to that student so that they know that there's something going on to follow up on. Additionally, in terms of avoiding the school-to-prison pipeline, which is another issue that I've always advocated for, we have to provide our counselors and our schools with some alternative methods to handle discipline with our students. Restorative practices, mindfulness, all of these things have impact. As a school principal, one of the things that I put together in my former school is yoga for our students. You would not even realize how much impact that has on how they view themselves just by having that opportunity to de-stress. Using restorative justice practices really allows us to get to the deep issues, the root causes of what is going on with our students so that we can address it instead of just punishing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Swanson, also running for Mason District School Board.
Hi, I'm running for Mason School Board. I'm Jessica Swanson. I live right around the corner from here on Patrick Henry Drive, so this is my neighborhood as well as yours, and I'm glad to be back here. This community, I've seen you do a lot in our local schools with supporting our students and with the health clinics, and so I appreciate all the efforts that you bring, and I'm really excited to see this community increasing its activism, and I'm so excited to continue to partner with you over time, and I hope that you stay active. So I think our other candidates have already talked about some really important issues, but one thing I would say different, I run the budget work at DC Public Schools. That's my day job. And I think in Fairfax, we may agree on counselors, but what is important is that we actually direct the resources to places where there is need. And Mason has more need than some other parts of the county. And so one of the things I will focus on is prioritizing resources in the Fairfax County Schools budget to support the needs that we have in Mason. And as I've been running, I've talked to a lot of folks in Mason District who've talked about bullying, right? Bullying is an issue in this particular community of congregants telling me about their students who are being bullied for various reasons, and it certainly is a mental health problem when your student is afraid to go to school. And so I think we absolutely must invest in training for our teachers to support them in positive behavior interventions, and I think we should invest in the restorative practices so that our students don't experience this bullying, and so that our teachers are equipped to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And guess who walked in? Mr. Moon, also current school board member at large. The question is, and you're going to jump right in, the question is, what would you do about mental health in our public schools?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I didn't know that I was going to participate debate. I was going to hear and listen to other great candidates, debating amongst themselves. But, first of all, I've been to this mosque, quite a few times. I've been representing the entire county of Fairfax as a school board member, first as a district board member, and then subsequently as an at-large board member for 20 years. I'm running again. It's exciting to be able to continue representing many members in diverse communities in Fairfax County, and I'm looking forward to working with newly elected board members on the next board, because we are expecting at least five new board members. This is a great school system where my own two kids benefit a great deal. Since you talked about mental health, that's a serious issue we need to address, and that requires a work, not just the schools, but we need to work with the families, parents, and community stakeholders as well. The mental health, a large part of that could come from stress from sometimes students put on themselves, but also school system may be, asking too much out of students, putting a lot of stress on their, homework load, or could be their drive to get, straight A's. You don't need to have a straight A's. You don't need to have 4 or 5 hours of homework each day to become successful. What you need to have provide the students to have wholesome school experience, and that requires a lot of work amongst, as I said, schools and teachers, parents, and community as well. Thank you.
All right. Continuing the mental health, mental health, I want to take it over to the Commonwealth Attorney. Candidate Steve Descano, please tell us about mental health versus locking people up. Is there another way of dealing with health-related issues other than just simply locking people up.
Thanks, Safe. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Descano. I'm running for Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney, which in most places is called District Attorney. And this job is essentially the leader of our county's criminal justice system. And the idea of what does mental health have to do with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and the answer is actually quite a bit. Because what we have to recognize that a large percentage of the crime that is committed in Fairfax County is committed because of individuals who are having mental health crises. And the problem that we have right now is we have a criminal justice system that is not invested in getting these individuals the help they need, because it's quite frankly, it's easier to just lock people up, not get them the help that they need, put them back on the street, and continue the cycle ad infinitum. What we need is a leader of our criminal justice system, a Commonwealth's attorney, who will take a holistic approach to this, that will recognize when individuals are committing crimes because of mental health issues and get them the help that they need instead of criminalizing them. If we can get individuals the help that we need and keep them from getting criminal records that ruin the rest of their lives, what we will have is we will have members of our community who are fully functioning members of our society and who can go out and without limitations get an education, get housing, get jobs, and be what we want, which is part of our community. And that will keep crime down, and it will build our communities up and make us all stronger.
Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, Chris Turner running for the Soil and Conservation Board of Fairfax County, and he'll tell you what that's all about.
Thanks, Saif. I'm Chris Kerner, probably a last name you can't pronounce, but Chris is my first name. I'm running for one of the 3 seats on the Soil and Water Conservation District. You probably don't know too much about what that does, but with the topic of health, both mental and physical health, I think environmental health comes very closely and relates very well to that. I spent 35 years as an environmental scientist and engineer cleaning up toxic waste sites around the country and around the world. As you probably know, a lot of toxic waste sites end up being near low income or ethnic communities because it's easier to get things sited there. I spent a number of times working with environmental justice issues to take on some very difficult sites and help develop teamwork with the different neighbors, and so we got some good results. In fact, when I was a regulator out in California, I actually settled the first Superfund site in the state with an ethnic community in East Los Angeles, and it was one of the most proud things that I did. I'd like to thank my friend Abrar for inviting me tonight, and I'd also like to thank Supervisor Grouse for a very important vote this week where they voted to uphold the Chesapeake Bay Commission that I chair when we were looking at dealing with floodplains and resource protection areas with a developer that wanted to build in the floodplain. We denied it on the committee, and the Board of Supervisors did a great job denying the application for the appeal. Again, my name is Chris Kerner. I would love your vote in the endorsement process in May. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open it up now to our audience to ask a question. Does someone have a question? Wow, yes, very excited question. Here you go. Introduce yourself and ask.
I live in District 35. My question is, first, Dominion Energy was allowed to keep $350 million in rebates that should have gone back to us, the ratepayers, for our electric bills. This was from 5 years of overcharging us and from tax rebates that they got from the Trump tax reform, whatever. And now Dominion has been allowed by the General Assembly to pass along to ratepayers the costs of cleaning up their filthy, leaking coal slurry lagoons that are poisoning our waters. How much money have you, state candidates, accepted from Dominion in financing your campaigns? And if elected, what are you going to do to restore integrity to Virginia's regulatory framework?
Okay, so the question is about Dominion power, and I'm guessing this is a state level issue. I'm going to start I'll start with Yasmin, because I know this is an issue she loves. So I'll let her start, and then we'll go over to the candidates one by one thereafter.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Saif, and I'm going to stand to follow my colleagues' leads. So again, I'm Yasmin. I'm running for state senate here in our district in the 35th. So the environment, clean energy obviously is one of the top priorities for our campaign, not just because it's a top issue for me, for our voters, but for the Commonwealth, for all of our families, making sure that we fight for Virginia to lead the way in terms of transitioning away completely from fossil fuels to clean renewable energy. My campaign is not accepting a single dime from the fossil fuel industry. I'm not accepting a single dime from Dominion. Once elected to the General Assembly as your state senator, I will vow to ensure that I support legislation already introduced in the General Assembly to ensure that state-regulated monopolies like Dominion have absolutely no power and will be prohibited from making any contributions to political candidates and campaigns. That's something that's needed in the General Assembly. That's something that I'm supportive of. I will make sure that I support a Green New Deal here in Virginia, legislation that's been introduced by colleagues Sam Rasool in the General Assembly, making sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to fight for a climate future for our families. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go next to Delegate Kate Corey, our delegate.
Thank you. And I agree with everything you said, so I won't repeat it. But I hope you're all familiar with what the Green New Deal is, and if you're not, then go to the website, please, because I was one of the early adopters of that pledge and of that legislation. We had an interesting fight this session and made a lot more progress than I would have expected. But if we get 2 more Democratic delegates in the House, we will make real progress that we all want instead of more than we expect, which is obviously not good enough. And the whole system of regulation of utilities is extremely complex, and it's not all up to the General Assembly, which is unfortunate, but we can still make a lot of changes, and I look forward to helping to do that. I sit on the Special Energy Committee of Commerce and Labor, and I've already learned a lot and been able to push Dominion in certain ways, but nowhere near as enough as they should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Alfonso Lopez. Oh, I can reverse it. All right, we'll go with JD. There you go.
Good evening again, everyone. So I was sitting here, listening about Dominion, and the young lady who asked the question asked a pointed question about elected members, if any of us have taken money from Dominion. But now, like my good friend Yasmin has stated, I pledge not to take any money from any corporation, special interest, anyone that infringes on our environment and will of our people. However, public record will show that there's many elected members in the Commonwealth of Virginia that have already taken the money. Now progressives are standing up. They're saying, no, we're not going to take any of the money. And now everyone wants to get on board and say, we're not taking money either. Good. But what have you done in the past? And that's a clear indication of your character as an elected member. So, Dominion's out there running amok in Union Hill. Where's our legislators? Quiet. All right, there's more to do. There's more to do. Dominion has monopolized the Commonwealth in so many ways and is in bankrolling so many of our politicians. That needs to stop. It needs to stop today, and it will stop on June 11th when I'm elected as your primary candidate for the Democratic Party, and in November. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Andres next, and then we'll close it out with Alfonso.
Well, thank you so much for that very important question. Let me give you a little bit of background. I work at Citizens Climate Lobby with constituents and folks in the grassroots community, 110,000 folks working on carbon emission every single day. My first act when I decided to run in the 38th district was to take the no fossil fuel pledge. I'm doing it for my children, I'm doing it for my family, and I'm doing it for our community. It's what needs to be done. I wish that the delegate who in the 38th would have answered the question, which was how much money did you take? I'm telling you right now that I have taken zero, I will take zero, and that I promise you. Thank you.
All right. Next is Alfonso Lopez.
I really appreciate this question. My background is in environmental policy and law. I worked in the Clinton White House at the Council on Environmental Quality. I worked with the National Environmental Community, working on the Kyoto Protocol, Safe Drinking Water Act, Clean Water Act. I'm also the founder in the Virginia House of Delegates of the Virginia Environment and Renewable Energy Caucus. What does that mean? I've been fighting Dominion since 2012. Now, to answer the question, I accepted $4,500 from Dominion, but I haven't taken a dime from Dominion before it was cool, over a year ago, actually. And I'm also endorsed by I've been endorsed by all the environmental groups in the past. I've been the legislative champion of the League of Conservation Voters. And here's the thing. I've voted against double dipping from Dominion power. I've voted against Dominion on almost every major piece of legislation over the last 8 years. I've raised over $600,000. $4,500 of that is not that much. And every dime that I've given, over half, actually over half of what I've given, I give away to get other Democrats elected, like Danica Rome, like Elizabeth Guzman, like Hala Ayala, Skylar Van Valkenburg, so that we can take the majority back and make sure that regulated utilities don't have sway in the House of Delegates and the General Assembly, and we can actually do real change for environmental safeguards and renewable energy in the Commonwealth.
All right. I'll come back, because I really want to move on. I'll come back, I promise you. I'm going to go to Abdul Razak, who had a question I know written down, one of our civic engagement team.
Thank you for coming. My name is Abdul Razak Kulmi. I have a question. My question is, the Board of Supervisors passed this policy, but we don't feel like Vienna District. What will you do more sure resources are allocated with equity?
The question is to the Board of Supervisor and school board candidates, and it's addressing the One Fairfax policy. And basically, we don't feel like Vienna, is what you said? Okay. All right. We don't feel like Vienna here. I'll start with Penny, because she's our current supervisor, and then I'll come across to the other candidates.
Thank you. The school board and the Board of Supervisors adopted the One Fairfax policy in 2017. But there's been a lot of misunderstanding of what One Fairfax means. It does not mean that everybody gets everything they want. It means that we look at programs, policies, and procedures through a racial and social equity lens. We want to remove barriers to success, but it also means that when we remove those barriers to success, people have to take the opportunity on their own to achieve that success. We are looking at housing, we are looking at parks, we are looking at everything we do through that equity lens. Not equality, but equity. If everybody can have a step up, whatever step they need, that will lead to their success. And that's what we're doing at the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Erika next.
Thank you. One of the reasons I decided to run for office is because nobody can easily live in Fairfax County without a car. And that is a huge equity issue, especially for our communities, for our immigrant communities, for minorities. People may take 2 hours in transit every day to go from home to work and back. That is a huge amount of time that they are not spending with their families, that they're not spending doing what they like doing most. So that is an equity issue, and I believe that we need to improve the state of sidewalks and mobility in our county so that everybody can move without a car if they choose to. Now, one of the populations that suffers the most with lethal accidents out in the street is immigrant populations and seniors and people with disabilities, because there are no very good sidewalks around Fairfax County. There's not very many ways to move around. So that's one issue. And the other issue is parks as well. Currently, I am supporting Blake Lane Park in my district because it's a park that it's destined to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the very few patches of green in this community. So we need parks, we need equity, we need equal access to these spaces and to transportation options.
Thank you. Alicia.
Thank you. So my day job, I'm a law professor at Georgetown, and I have spent 2 years chairing our diversity committee for the faculty and for the school at Georgetown. So I know about equity, and I know how to implement equity. So I'll give you an example. I think that the One Fairfax policy is fantastic, but there are a couple things, well, there's one thing missing. There's no immigration status in our One Fairfax policy. We have race, gender, socioeconomic status, but we don't have immigration status. And I think that that needs to be added. Why? Take one program, the Target program. The Target program is a program that's been in existence for 30 years in Fairfax County. And what it does is it looks at license plates and says if you have an out-of-state license plate, and it encourages your neighbor to file an anonymous report saying that this person's living in my neighborhood and is not licensing their license plates. This, unfortunately, falls upon undocumented immigrants. It falls, it's racially inequitable as well as people move around the county, and it falls upon low-income people. So how do you implement One Fairfax, the policy, into implementation? What you do is you take that 30 years of data, the 30 years of data that we have on the policy, and we say, who does it disproportionately impact? And if it disproportionately, you find that it disproportionately impacts undocumented immigrants, it unproportionately impacts low-income people, then you try to fix that policy or you get rid of it. That's how you implement One Fairfax.
Thank you. I'm going to carry that question over to our school board candidates, particularly because we have schools in Fairfax County like Thomas Jefferson that are great schools. But then we have schools that are also great schools but aren't performing as well, like Justice High School, which is literally across the street. And one of the candidates' father actually graduated from that high school because I knew him back then. So I'm going to start with our current school board members, and then I'll come to the candidates. And since Ms. Karen Keys-Gamarra is here and walked in and she hasn't had a chance to speak yet, we'll start with her.
Hi, I'm Karen Keys-Gamarra, and I'm running for the at-large seat again. I was elected in September of 2017 in the special election. I came on board just as we were adopting the One Fairfax, which was basically me putting on something that was very comfortable because my whole life has focused on bringing equity and bringing fairness to children. I represent children in court. So what that means in our policies basically means that when we look at a situation, we're trying to make sure that we're bringing the same opportunities to everyone. TJ is in a different category because that's a governor's school. And so we're getting students from Loudoun and Arlington and a number of other places. So that is not exactly under our jurisdiction other than, the facts that we offer that situation. But with respect to other schools like Justice, and I've done a lot of visiting of Justice, I love Justice and participated in the name change, I've done a couple of things to try to make sure that we bring about equity. First of all, I sponsored a motion to make sure we maintain our Title I funding, which has been under threat. And those programs help to make sure that we can reach students in high poverty areas. I also sponsored an advanced academics topic to make sure that we are investigating how to bring advanced learning opportunities to more students and not just those that are eligible for the GT program.
Thank you.
She told me to stop talking.
Yes, so for those of you that came in, it's 90 seconds to answer, and if you see Thuraya hold up one finger, that means you have 30 seconds left. If you see her hold up two fingers, you've got 15 seconds left, and if you see this, You know what that means because you obviously stopped. So
Well, I had more to say, but I want to be.
we'll come back. All right. I'm just going to come straight down. Jessica.
Hi. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I think I discussed a little bit about this resource equity piece a moment ago. I want to add on a little bit to that. I think it is incredibly important that we get the voices of our community here in Mason District, of our parents and our community members, into the school board to make the case for our needs here in Mason District. The school board is responsive to those communities that are loud and that are empowered. And so I'm going to commit to elevating our voices here in Mason District to advocate for the needs that we have. We have a lot of need here in Mason District, and our kids may need more than kids in McLean, right? Our kids may need more to get to where they need to go to be on that same level footing. So I'm going to commit to working with all of us to do that. Another issue I've heard a lot about in equity is about discipline. And some of our students of color, students with special needs, are getting the disproportionate effects of discipline. And so I will commit to holding our system accountable for improving that situation through training our teachers and through equipping our school leaders and holding them accountable. And I think the last thing that's really important in terms of equity is making sure that Fairfax continues to work on hiring a diverse workforce. This has been a recent priority, but we need to make sure that our hiring practices are not discriminatory. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Ricardy.
This has been my work, like I said, for 23 years, where we try to make sure that the people who need it the most have that intervention, have that support. To answer your question in terms of why is it that Justice performs in one way and some of the other schools perform in another way, we have a high rate of mobility in Justice, Falls Church, and Annandale. We have a high number of students who are learning English as a second language in Justice, Annandale, and Falls Church. We have a high number of students who are on free and reduced lunch in Justice, Falls Church, and Annandale high schools. All of these things impact how they learn. All of these things impact their readiness for learning. And also, we have a higher number of students in special education in Justice, Fairfax, and Annandale than in some of the other places that you've mentioned around the district. Where we have greater need, we must have greater resources to be employed to that. As a school principal, thank you. As a school principal, when we sat around to talk about students in terms of who is performing well, who's not performing well, when we figure out what the gaps are, we would put additional support, additional services to the children who have those gaps. It doesn't mean we're ignoring the others, but we are putting the needs, we are putting the resources where the needs are. So I am really in support of need-based staffing, so that we're not reducing the conversation that is going on right now. When I had an ESOL teacher from Luther Jackson call me saying they're going to increase those ratios. That doesn't make sense. When we're increasing ratios on our kids who need it the most, we're going to get what we've always gotten.
Thank you. Abrar.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be with all of you. Equity is the reason I entered the race. I've been talking about it. I've been working on it for 10 years. There are 4 things I want to talk about. First is the boundaries. We'd be remiss not to mention it. No one mentioned it so far, but it's a critical conversation. Equity hasn't been centered in that conversation or put as a top priority since '84. It's about time that we reevaluate, and I know the school board has just started talking about it a few weeks ago, so it's exciting. Number 2 is resources. Examining the per pupil funding that's going to various schools, how it's disproportional or not, where activities funding comes from and how it varies across the county, ensuring that that revenue stream is even or at least comparable. The third is, someone mentioned discipline. I have come to know this personally very recently. African American kids are 3 times more likely, Hispanics are 2 times more likely, students with disabilities are also, significantly more likely to be disciplined. And we have school resource officers in our schools. So Skip discussed that on Wednesday. That's something I'm very concerned about looking into and really ensuring that we have fair practices and cultural sensitivity training and all that. And I just sent out an email releasing my policy platform and steps I want to take as soon as I get elected on that. And finally, additional supports. So communities that have unique needs, we receive Title I funding from the federal government for certain schools, ensuring that we receive the full amount that those schools are promised, looking into social workers and parent liaisons as a support that are already overworked, underpaid, and shared by many schools, so ensuring we have enough of that.
Thank you. Mr. Moon.
Thank you. As far as I'm concerned, the One Fairfax means that we are providing all students, regardless of their backgrounds, equitable opportunities and resources so that all can succeed. Whether you live in Mason District or Dranesville District or Lee, Mount Vernon, whether you are from rich family or someone who is growing up in poverty, we owe to them equal opportunities, same opportunities, so that they can all achieve their American dream. I came here as an immigrant at the age of 17. I was an Eastern student, and I grew up in poverty. My parents were undereducated. Neither of my parents got high school graduation diploma. But I was able to go to college and go to law school and serve in public because I believe that I would benefit of excellent public school education, and that's what I need to provide in Fairfax County. And one of the things that, in addition to what has been already said, I want to focus on is make sure that every high school has high quality teachers and programs in advanced math and advanced science, whether it's a Justice or Langley High School or even a TJ. All our students deserve equal opportunity to become successful. And also, over more than a dozen years, I have always supported needs-based staffing, which means students with more needs get more teachers and more resources. I'm going to continue fighting for that. Thank you.
Next, I think we have Jung. Yes.
Thank you. Seeing inequity personally is the reason I stand before you here today. My high school had a graduation rate of 50%, and it was only through the love, support, and care of my parents, who didn't have much, but they showed me how important it was to serve others, and teachers who believed in me, where I tested into a school like TJ, graduated with a math degree from Carnegie Mellon, and I never forgot that privilege of how an education can transform a life, and that not all students have access to that. So equity is all over every single decision I make, but I'll talk about just two. The first is looking at how the quality of our schools are measured is how we can change the conversation around equity. Instead of just static test scores, we need to see change in time, we need to see growth, and what are the challenges in each classroom? What are the percentage of low-income, special needs students that the teachers have to work with to get the results that they did? Secondly, cradle to career. As a school board member, I want to take it one step further. Our industry is changing rapidly with new demands and jobs that don't require college degrees, and we need to bring in practicing professionals who want to help mentor our students as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last school board member or candidate that just joined us.
Hi, my name is Rachna Sizemore-Heiser, and I'm running for school board at large. I apologize for being late. To answer the question about equity, I have lived this myself. I lived in schools that were overcrowded and underfunded. And Justice High School, what you mentioned, is overcapacity, about 110%, where we have schools that are under capacity. So we can't discuss equity without discussing capacity. We need to address the capacity issues. As a former management consultant, one thing I'm going to tell you is that strategic use of resources is really important to address achievement gaps. So we have to look at where do we have the achievement gaps, what resources do we have, and how do we strategically put the resources where we most need them. Needs-based staffing, needs-based resourcing, and we have to end overcrowded classrooms because you cannot learn when there's 35 students in a classroom. So discipline is something I've also worked on. I worked on making sure our school resource officers had implicit bias and disability awareness training. Disability advocacy is where I come out of. We need to make sure our teachers reflect the diversity of our students and understand their needs. And finally, the third thing is we need high quality programs for all. For ESOL students, we need honors ESOL classes, and we need cultural awareness. But you cannot presume just because you don't speak English that you don't have an ability to learn at a high level.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take the next question from Sister Aisha, our Director of Women's Programs here. And you can ask a question and we'll direct it to somebody.
So on this same theme of social and racial equity,
I want to know, how are we carrying that over into our criminal justice system? I want to know your opinions as it relates to reform that's needed. We know that African American men, particularly, and women are at a disproportionate rate of being incarcerated inside of our county, representing 10% of the population, but more than 30% of those who are incarcerated. And then I'd like to know, what are your efforts or thoughts as it relates to cash bail reform for those who are not able to pay cash bail when they are actually accused of a crime? What are we doing that they're able to actually get out, support themselves so that they don't lose their home or their jobs in the process, in order to be able to defend themselves, not looping them back into a system that many times that they're disproportionately represented in?
Thank you. I'll start this one with Steve Descano, then I'll come to our state level officials on this. So Thoraya is saying, and what about the felony threshold?
Ooh, only 90 seconds, huh?
90 seconds, go for it.
Well, thank you very much for those questions.
And just so that you know, we are delaying our night prayer until 9:30. It's supposed to be now, so we're going to delay the prayer a little bit. We're going to continue the questions. We'll take a break for the night prayers, and then we'll close it out and have you all kind of meet all the people coming to pray, because we usually get about 400 people coming to pray our night prayers. So it'll be good for candidates to kind of meet constituents. Yes.
So the reason I'm running for Commonwealth's Attorney is to build a criminal justice system that treats everybody equally, regardless of the color of your skin, how much money you make, and which part of the county you come from. That is the value that undergirds my entire campaign. And right now, we don't have that in our criminal justice system. We have a criminal justice system where different neighborhoods are policed differently, where you get a different level of justice based on how much money you have or what your background is. And I have a plan to reform that. I'm the only one in my race that has this plan. I have it right here. It's a 20-page plan. It's called Progressive Justice. I invite each and every one of you to go onto my website, stevedescano.com, and read it. And what you'll see is there are a number of ways that I want to bring equality to our system. Right now, there are organizations that stand ready, willing, and able to come into our system and review our data and find out where there's systemic discriminations. I'm going to invite them in because that's my focus. I'm going to get that data, bring it all around the community, every community, so we can be held accountable. And when I stand in front of you, I'm not going to talk about conviction rate. I'm not going to talk about length of sentence. I'm going to talk about how are we getting rid of these racial and systemic discriminations. Some of the ways that we're going to do that are I am never going to bring a simple possession of marijuana charge, because I know that white individuals and people of color use marijuana at roughly the same rate. But if you're a person of color in Fairfax County, you are 3 times more likely to be prosecuted for that crime, and that will ruin your life and it'll ruin your community. So I'll stop that. Another thing, thank you. Another thing that I will do is I will never ask for cash bail, because I know that all that does is penalize poor people simply for being poor, predominantly people of color, and that's not justice. It doesn't keep us safe. It doesn't build our community. And another thing that I'll do, because somebody brought it up, the felony threshold, right? That is a way that we get people into our criminal justice system and ruin their lives. Again, particularly people of color. I will not charge a felony if a theft is under $1,500, because that's not going to create property crime. That's going to keep us safe, and that is going to build up our communities instead of breaking them down.
Are you still keeping time, or are you cheering for Steve? I think that's not fair. All right, let's start this time with Alfonso on this issue.
I adore this question. Thank you very, very much. And the member of the House Democratic leadership, we were working for years to increase the felony threshold from $200, which was absurd. The fact is, it should right now be around $1,500, and I just adored what you had to say. Also, with regard to restoration of rights, we were working for years to get the restoration of rights done, and working with former Governor Terry McAuliffe to make it happen, and we're happy it happened. The whole House Democratic Caucus worked on it. Also, with regard to cash bail reform, thank you very much. I drafted several letters on this and actually had several conversations with Commonwealth's attorneys, the state, the Attorney General of the state, including one cash bail reform letter from last summer that went to a few folks that got a lot of press. And then finally, I'm very happy and very proud of the fact that after several years of working on this legislation, we finally got my legislation passed as a part of the reconvened session through the budget on getting rid of basically suspending someone's driver's license for failure to pay court fines and fees. If you actually serve your time and then have your driver's license suspended because you can't pay court fines and fees, that's incredibly counterproductive. What that means is we have a modern-day debtor's prison in the state code of Virginia. We should never be punishing poor people, especially in the Virginia code. And
thank you. I'm going to go over to Yasmin Tayyib on this, and then we'll get to the other delegate candidate. Delegate Kay Corey, we'll come to you next. Sorry.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the question. As a human rights attorney and someone who's been working on civil and human rights issues my entire professional career, this is obviously an issue that I care deeply about, and I applaud my colleagues, especially my friend Steve Descano, for the work that he's been doing to really fight for a progressive criminal justice system that finally would ensure that we are not penalizing poverty, that we are taking care of those most vulnerable in our communities, that making sure that, again, communities of color, African Americans, Latinos who are disproportionately impacted by the cash bail system, that we ensure that we're electing leaders that will work to eliminate cash bail, that we ensure that we're electing leaders that will support abolishing the death penalty. Virginia right now is ranked second, right behind Texas, in the number of executions that we hold, and that's absolutely unacceptable. If elected as your state senator, I will ensure that I will work to push and fight for abolishing the death penalty in Virginia, and making sure that I will fight to abolish solitary confinement in Virginia, which is a form of torture. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Kay Corey.
Thank you. Our Democratic caucus has been working really hard over the past several years to get some information on solitary confinement so that we can learn how to prevent it. It has taken 5 or 6 years to actually get the bill passed where we're going to collect the data. I also want to, Alfonso mentioned several things that our whole caucus has been working very hard for years to accomplish, and we're very proud that we were able, working with the governor, to get these things passed. I want to mention the issue that was raised in the question about incarcerated women. Women are being incarcerated at much higher rates in Virginia and across the country in an astounding way, and our criminal justice system is not able to handle it. I have met with a number of recently released women. I've been working with Guest House in Alexandria, and I'm going to talk longer, and I have learned a number of issues that need to get changed. The one thing that struck me the most when I met with the recently incarcerated women was that women are charged for menstrual products when they're in jail. They have to pay for them, or they can't have them. Now that is ridiculous. That is insulting, that is stupid, that is discriminatory. And I put in a bill that said that women would no longer have to pay for feminine hygiene products when they are incarcerated in jails or prisons. And I worked with the Sheriff's Association so that they would support this. And I'm going down to their convention in a few weeks to talk about it with them and work out ways to handle that. This was the first bill ever in the nation that got passed, and I have worked very hard to follow up on it. And there are many other issues with women in prison. They are not allowed family visitation as they should be. Their mortality rate is higher. They don't get the health care that they need.
That's it.
And I have taken this on as a crusade, and I have a panel of incarcerated women who have been recently released. We're going around the area talking about the problems and how we can fix them. I hope you'll come to one of the panels.
Thank you. All right, we'll announce it if you actually tell us. Okay, thank you. I'm going to go now to Andres, and then we'll go to JD.
All right, I'm going to make sure to check on the time here to make sure it's all right.
Okay.
But thank you very much for that question. And absolutely, what we need are plans like Steve Descano's plan. We need the work of Delegate Alfonso Lopez. We need members coming together, folks in the community coming together, folks like you coming together, involving the police department, leaders in the community to start listening to what's going on and how to fix this. Absolutely no cash bail. That is absolutely right, Steve. Alfonso, thank you for your work in Richmond for this, and I think that bringing communities together like this and events like this are only going to be a bigger voice for what's going on with these issues, and the only way we can stop it, work on it, and move forward is by bringing the community together. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to JD next.
Good evening again, everyone. I'm going to try to keep this short. So, lived experience. As the president of the NAACP and a member of the NAACP for many years, which is a nonpartisan organization, I will tell you, I've been on the front lines of what you're talking about, young lady. I've heard the stories. So, the bail, I'm there with you. I agree. But it's a little bit deeper than that. Racial profiling, I'm going to tell you, here in Virginia, still exists, and it runs rapid. So what's happening is, I saw a poll a few days ago where we still have about 58% of people of color, African Americans, locked up. How are they getting there? They're being profiled. That's the hardcore facts. Many of them are, okay? And we need to do a better job at training our law enforcement officials. Implicit bias training needs to be mandated. Each law enforcement officer in the Commonwealth needs to be required to have that training, I believe, before they serve their job, as they do their job. Because we have too many just running around locking up people for just about anything, and they're ended up in the system. Our people are. We need to do better than that. The last thing is the $1,500 threshold. I'm there. I'm there with that. And other than that, like I said, I've been with NAACP. I've seen these issues. I hear them week in and week out, month and month, and we still got more to do. And I hope that being there as a delegate, I'll be able to help some of our legislators make some things happen. Thank you.
All right. So we're actually getting close to our prayer time, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Iqbal ask a quick question to our supervisors, and then we're going to break for prayer and come back.
Hi, and welcome everyone. To build thriving and sustainable communities, I think everyone needs to be on the table. And as from my experience as an educator and urban planner, I see that there is a huge gap in leadership and entrepreneurial training. What would you do to address this issue, please?
So we'll start with supervisors and take school board members for that, and then we'll break for prayer. I'll start with Penny.
Wow. Thank you, Iqbal. Iqbal was on my Seven Corners Task Force a few years ago, so there's some leadership and entrepreneurial training right there. When we have things like the Seven Corners Task Force, when we have organizations like, quite frankly, BC7RC, the revitalization group that is in this particular area, it needs more entrepreneurs on it. Right now, it's mostly residential. But we need more small business owners. We need more folks who want to be small business owners to go out there and be able to recruit to make sure that the Bailey's Seven Corners area thrives. That's a really good way to do it. I want to thank Iqbal for her service on the Seven Corners Task Force. One of these days, Seven Corners is going to change. We have the plan. We have the impetus. We need the private investment. And again, that comes from entrepreneurship. That comes from making sure that people are recognize the wonderful opportunities that we have here in the Bailey's Seven Corners area in Mason District. Thank you.
Thank you. Erika?
And I wanted to talk about the previous issue as well. As an intake court officer, I believe that it is critical to have, talking about criminal justice, to have gatekeepers at every level, because the law enforcement are gatekeepers for racial profiling. Then intake officers in juvenile court or magistrates are gatekeepers for racial profiling as well. And then the judges. So it is important to think about every layer and every level in the criminal justice system. I am a gatekeeper, and I am a very proud gatekeeper. Once kids have come to my office, I do diversion programs with them, and I believe that diversion is something that we really need to invest and continue advancing in Fairfax County. Now, with the issue of leadership, it's very important to think about the careers and jobs of the future, and how we are represented in the careers of the future. Girls, in particular, need to learn how to code. And that's one of the programs that I would like to spearhead, because we have a disparity in the number of girls who go to math classes or that follow coding classes, and boys are doing it at a much higher rate than girls, and that's where the jobs of the future are. So that's...
All right, let's let her continue. We're not going to interrupt from the audience. Okay, we'll get to it.
That's what I was talking about regarding leadership.
Thank you. All right, so let's please not interrupt the candidates from the audience. Alicia. So Alicia is going to be the last person to speak, and then we're going to break for our prayers. And as politicians, you know, it's sometimes you do things that are unpopular, you get slaughtered for it. I'm delaying prayer. So we're going to break at 9:30 for the prayers, and then we'll come back afterwards. But please, Alicia.
Great. Thank you. I'm so glad you asked this question, because this is what I actually teach at Georgetown Law School. I run a community economic development center there, where I have 2 staff attorneys and 12 law students, and we represent small businesses, entrepreneurs, social enterprises, and nonprofits. And I teach our students how to represent these entrepreneurs. Now, our entrepreneurs aren't just any entrepreneurs. They are low-income entrepreneurs. They are returning citizens. They are survivors of domestic violence. We work in wards 7 and 8. So I would try to bring some of the programs that I already do, that I already know, to Fairfax County. We work with incubators and co-working spaces. We need those here in the county. We have Refraction in Reston. That's great, but it's in Reston. Let's bring something to Bailey's Crossroad. Let's put something in Mount Vernon. Let's try to invest in our small businesses. We continually grab Fortune 500 companies from other places and try to relocate them here. That's great, but we need to be investing in our own small businesses, because if you're homegrown, then you are much more likely to stay and grow and create jobs here in our community. I'll just say one last thing, is that in terms of development in our county, I am the only person in my race who has decided not to accept any political contributions from real estate developers. I think it really affects the economic development of our county.
Thank you very much. So we are going to break for our night prayer, Isha. It's 10 minutes. You feel free to actually observe, or feel free to hang out here, and then we'll come back right here and come back to our school board members, and I haven't forgotten you, on the Soil, Water, and Conservation Board, but we'll come right back and answer the rest of that question. Thank you very much. The question that we had on entrepreneurship and leadership in our schools. So I'm going to just start all the way down at the end and come down the way, if you guys will allow me. Actually, I started that way that time. I'll start down here, and I'll come back down this way. So we'll start with Rachna.
Thank you for asking the question about entrepreneurship in our schools. This is something that's very important to me. I have a daughter who's studying computer science at Cornell, and she works in entrepreneurial labs and innovation labs all the time. And I want our children to have the same experience as she does. So here's a couple ideas I have. We have a new innovation lab at Chantilly High. I think we need to bring more of those programs and that mentality to every classroom, of teaching our children, giving them projects in our classrooms, of developing entrepreneurial ideas, developing innovative ideas, giving them a problem to solve, teaching them to work in a group and solving the problem. That's my first idea. The second idea is we have great companies and we have nonprofits with need in our community. We should partner our companies with our schools and our nonprofits to find programs and find things that our nonprofits need, and let our students develop them in conjunction with our community leaders and our business leaders. I think that's a great way to get our students plugged into our business leaders giving back to our community, and our nonprofits getting things that they need done and they can't afford to do. So I think innovation labs, working with public-private partnerships to support our nonprofits that do great work, would be a great way to create a spirit of entrepreneurship in our students.
Thank you. Go ahead and give it to Jung. Jung, go ahead.
Rachna and I must be especially in sync today, because Those are a lot of ideas. Through my company, I work at the Strategic Innovation Group at a company I can't say, and we've been partnered with nonprofits and professionals to make more community partnerships. And it blows my mind that teachers today have less professional opportunities of learning and classes than the average government consultant. And I'm saying that because I am a government consultant. So it's time that we look at teachers as professionals, as true professionals as they are. And it's an immediate step, more training and more learning opportunities for teachers. And I say this just from a fresh conversation I had with a Carnegie Mellon math professor and the US math coach of the Math Olympiad, saying that when teachers, as they teach, when they learn, they become even more passionate. And that's what he's been hearing in his national conversations across the country as well.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Moon.
I think for both leadership and entrepreneurship, I believe that a creating more opportunities for the students to develop critical thinking and creativity and problem-solving skills, that's going to be very important. And that has to start from very early age. So rather than focusing on standards of learning test mandate by the state, hopefully they can reduce the number even further down. If we could give our students more opportunities to work with project-based learning. I think that's why we should be starting. We got to do more of that from the early age. For high school students, we need to provide them with more real-life work and learning opportunities. This is where I think we need to be more flexible with the graduation requirements, especially when second semester, senior year, a lot of students have already sent in their applications to colleges and just waiting to hear back from them. Utilizing the second semester with a real-life experience will be very beneficial. I mean, a lot of seniors in the second semester, they wasted their time. Now, in the United States right now, there are 7 million jobs unfilled, and about 40% of them do not require college degrees, but require real-life experiences, and we need to give high school students more such opportunities.
Thank you. Abrar.
All right, 2 things on leadership, 2 things on technical education. So first on leadership, I'm really interested in bringing history and civics to life for kids. A lot of them complain that civics is very boring and walk away not really understanding how lived and how relevant and how important some of these issues are. And I see my role as a potential school board member as very key to that. We're coming to the classrooms, meeting the kids, and again, bringing to life what they're learning. And the second is, when we think of leadership, we often forget the aspect of emotional intelligence, empathy, social understanding. Those are things I want to instill in the kids, and I want to look at how we can add some of those things to the way we teach them the curriculum. On technical education, 2 things. One is ingenuity. A lot of them touched on it. I won't elaborate too much, but in terms of introducing technology, obviously, we're moving towards one-to-one in terms of technological devices and students. And it's a welcome step in the direction of preparing our kids for the future, thinking of skill sets they're going to need, coding, things like that are basic universal things when you think of 21st century learning. And finally, in terms of career and technical, being flexible and open-minded about non-traditional paths. So a lot of kids don't necessarily have to go to college. That's not necessarily a path that's for them. So offering those opportunities. I was just meeting with the 2 bills, if any of you have met them. They advocate all the time about skills-based education rather than standards-based. And as we move away from No Child Left Behind policies and testing-based policies, we can be more creative and open-minded about the possibilities of how we can teach our kids the skills rather than focusing on very regimented goals.
Thank you. Next, Ricardy.
I agree very much with what has been said so far. I think project-based learning is a great opportunity for our students to really apply what they've learned in a higher order thinking kind of opportunity. But we also have to kind of look back a little bit on the equity issues. When it comes to Mason District schools, we have a lot of students who are coming in with some different challenges. Are we having the same expectations for them? Because that is a matter of equity. If we are going to enfold our kids in remedial programs, Read 180 programs that don't have that breadth breadth of scope of interesting work that's going to spark their knowledge, that's going to spark their interest into becoming our future engineers and to becoming our future entrepreneurs, I think we're doing them a disservice. So we need to take a look at how are we preparing our students, but we also need to take a look at in terms of what is our expectations for all of our students, because all of the things that we want to do are in place in some other places, but not necessarily as much as they need to be in Mason District.
Thank you. Next, Jessica.
So a lot's already been said about public-private partnerships, and I think we certainly can learn entrepreneurship from industry. I'm going to take a different answer on this one, though. I think we should also think about how to empower entrepreneurial spirit within the school system. So right now, I think there's been a lot of top-down thinking about the direction that we take, and I would like to see us elevate the voices of our teachers and our leaders in the school, those who are working most closely with our students, and raise up those ideas as we think about how to make improvements quickly. I think our system has a ton of talent, and when we want to make changes, we can actually do it pretty quickly. Like when we get the political will to do a later high school start time, we implement it quickly. So as we think about issues like expanding early childhood education, which is something that's important in our community, we can make those changes quickly if we want to, and we could create a new community school model and really, in a more entrepreneurial way, think about connecting it to health and library and doing all the things that we want to do in a community school model, and it's a different way of thinking about school. So I think entrepreneurship is also, in addition to helping our students become entrepreneurs, is taking that entrepreneurial spirit and bringing that to the system as a whole.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Karen Keys-Gamarra.
So I actually want to address the last two questions, because I think in order to build the school to career pipeline that you're talking about, we have to tear down the school to prison pipeline. We have to do that in the early years and making sure that we provide teaching for our professional development for our teachers so that we have cultural proficiency and we are not, we need to shut down this disparity with respect to how we deal with children of color. Once we do that, then we can raise opportunities. We can raise our kids up to be leaders. I recently had a complaint from this area about how children of color were suspended right away for a situation. I've asked questions of that teacher and of the folks involved, what led up to that suspension, and they jumped straight to that. So we have to change the mindset first of all. Once we do that, we also build our children with respect to leadership. We give them those opportunities. Many things have been mentioned with respect to being able to have other choices in high school. We should be able to get certifications in high school rather than having to go to college. We have people who can earn college credit while they are in high school so that when they can be ready to springboard and finish that less expensively. So I think we have to change the mindset. We have to shut down the school to prison pipeline, and we have to build the school to career pipeline.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do now, it's 10 o'clock, is we're going to close out. Each candidate is going to get 30 seconds to close out. And what I'll do to start is we'll start with our state senate, and then we'll go to the state delegates, and then we'll come down to the county level candidates if you allow me to do that. I think the only state senate candidate here is Yasmin, and then we'll go down to the county, state level and county levels.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Saif. Thank you to Dar Al-Hijrah. Thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. I believe that we can do incredible things when everyone has a seat at the table. I'm running to defend Northern Virginia's diversity and to fight for our working families. Our district, the most progressive in the Commonwealth, deserves a state senator who will fight for a new Virginia way, economic policies friendly to working families, a green energy future, campaign finance laws that restrict Dominion cronyism and the impact of the NRA, work to enact legislation to decrease mass incarceration, abolish the death penalty, and create safe learning environments for our students. A state senator who will prioritize our diverse communities, keep our undocumented neighbors safe, and fight so everyone has access to affordable housing. I believe I can be that state senator for you. I believe I have the experience, the background, and the tenacity to fight for a new Virginia way, and I would be honored to earn your vote. I look forward to continuing to fight with you to build the inclusive, progressive Commonwealth that I know we can become. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Delegate Kay Corey. You want to? We could do either way, whatever you. Sorry, I was going to come over to you. But.
Oh, well, thank you. You just look so good at the podium. Thank you all for this opportunity. I congratulate you. I know it's not easy to put together an event like this and get people to come, pay attention, understand, and learn, and stay this late at night. A prayer in the middle does help. I am Kay Corey, and I have been very proud to represent and work with this district for a number of years. There are a couple of things that I want to remind you about. When I was on the school board, I got Arabic in the schools in this district. Yes. And then when I started as a delegate, I was the first to invite the imam to come and give the prayer at the General Assembly. And I'm trying to do it again. I think it's time. And the reason that I'm mentioning these things is because, yes, we need a lot of changes. Yes, there are a lot of problems. However, unless you put a face on the problem, unless you understand that your neighbor, just because they don't look like you or sound like you, is not your enemy. And that is what bringing the imam to Richmond is about, and that is what bringing the incarcerated women panels to you is about, so that we can recognize our common humanity and move forward to make the changes we need to make. Now here's a political speech, here's a political point. 2 more Democratic delegates, 1 more Democratic senator, and we will see huge changes here. And I am very excited about what we can do in 2020. And because of my experience and my skills and my relationships, I am even more excited about being a key member of that Democratic team. So please vote for Kay Corey, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Alfonso Lopez.
I believe in a commonwealth that lifts everyone up and leaves no one behind. And as your delegate, I've been a champion for our values in Richmond. I'm proud of my bipartisan work and the relationships I've developed on both sides of the aisle to find common ground and get things done. Over the last 8 years, I've been the patron, co-patron, or chief co-patron over 100 bills that have been signed into law. There's nothing in the world as rewarding as helping people. Meeting a family that has a roof over their head because of my Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Making it easier for veteran, women, and minority-owned small businesses to grow and thrive. Helping just one dreamer student get in-state tuition and a college degree, and ensuring that the social safety net is there for future generations. Going forward, we need to create more prosperity and do it in a way where everybody wins. We need to invest in our infrastructure and in our workforce, and most of all, in our children. To do that, we need experience and a deep, nuanced understanding of the public policy and legislative process in Richmond. The issues that we'll be dealing with over the next 2 years are critical if we're going to keep Virginia moving forward. I will continue to be a champion for our values and priorities. I will continue fighting for the community I love, and I will continue fighting for Virginia that lifts everyone up and leaves no one behind. I ask for your support and vote on June 11th, Election Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Andres Jimenez.
Once again, thank you to everyone on the panel. Thank you, Safe. Thank you, everyone here tonight. I want to tell you a little bit, I want to end this with a story. When I got to Citizens Climate Lobby 2 years ago, there was a big problem that I saw. We didn't have enough unique, different voices. So the first thing that I did when I was there is I started a diversity fellowship, a paid diversity fellowship to give voices to those who didn't have a voice, who couldn't afford to work for free. And that is one of the proudest moments of my life, is helping those without a voice. And that's what I want to bring to our community here in the 38th. That's what I want to bring to all of Virginia. Now, let me talk about one last thing. Let me refresh some memories here. Contributions that my opponent took, over $7,250. Let me also remind you, there were 5 Democrats last session who did not get a bill passed. One of them has been here for a decade, so don't talk to me about relationship building. That one person was my opponent. She did not pass one single bill last session. Complacency. Do not be complacent for your families, your community, or yourself. We deserve better. I deserve better. On June 11th, I can't wait to have your vote. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have J.D. Spain.
Good evening, everyone, again. So, being a Marine, I'm going to try to stay disciplined because you asked for 30 seconds, and that's what I'm going to give you, because I know everyone else has something to say. So, we're talking about 2 more delegates, 2 more positions. But what have we been doing the past 10 years that I've been living here? Nothing much has changed. Some things have changed, but not much. I'll tell you what we need. We need new leadership. That shows some integrity, some character, and some honesty. That's what we need. And that's what I'm going to bring you. And that's what I've been doing all my life. This issue about policy and nuances and understanding it, I worked on Capitol Hill. I was a congressional fellow. I worked in the Senate. I worked in the Pentagon. I was commissioner in Arlington County County Board. They appointed me. President of NAACP. I understand what's going on. Don't be hoodwinked. We need change. I'm your change agent. I'm the game changer. I'm J.D. Spain. Vote for me on June 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to county level positions. And, I'm going to start with our current vice chair of the board, and then I'll go to Alicia, who's running for chair of the board.
Thank you so much. Penny Gross, Mason District Supervisor. Almost 24 years of relationships with Dar Al-Hijrah and the community. It's all about education. It's about the economy. It's about the environment. It's about excellence. We live in a great county. We're very fortunate to do so, but we can be better. And that's what I always strive to do. It's about everyone, every single day. And it's about experience. There is no one running for the Board of Supervisors this year that has 24 years of experience governing this wonderful county. My election is in November, and I hope that you will remember all the way to November to vote Penny Gross for Mason District Supervisor. I love my job. I'd like to be hired again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Alicia Blair-Hopeless, running for chairman or chair of the Fairfax County Board.
My name is Alicia Pleropoulos, and I am running for chairman of the County Board of Supervisors. I would like to say that one thing that we didn't talk about here tonight was affordable housing, and it is such a critical issue in our county. I will say that I come from this from a very personal experience. When I was 9 years old, my father lost his job, and we were evicted from our home. I spent the better part of my 4th grade living in a motel room with my siblings and my family. I share this experience because it is the experience of so many of our hardworking families here in Fairfax County who are just 1 or 2 paychecks away from eviction. They're experiencing housing insecurity, food insecurity, and this has not necessarily been dealt with a sense of urgency that it needs to in our county. So in terms of affordable housing, I am for restoring our full penny to our affordable housing fund. We need to do more. We can create partnerships with religious organizations, with mosques, with churches to build affordable housing. Thank you. I ask for your vote June 11th.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start down. We've got Erika. You're the only other, yes, sorry, go for it. Erika, running for Providence Supervisor.
My name is Erika Yalowitz, and I am running for the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors in Providence District. I have worked during my lifetime to make my corner of the world better. And growing up in Colombia in the middle of drug war and civil war was a very key determinant to me in trying to make my world better. I went to school for political science and government, international relations, and I wanted to be president there. However, my corner of the world changed when I came to America and started a family. I hit the ground running, volunteering for my community, teaching English as a second language to immigrant adults, volunteering at my homeowners association at the Providence District Council, which is the organization of homeowners associations, advocating for my community. And I have earned a reputation for being effective, efficient, and accountable. And I want to bring that experience to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. I hope to earn your support. Please vote for me June 11th. Erika Yalowitz, and my website is www.erika.Yalowitz, erikaforsupervisor.org. Erika with a K.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to give Chris a chance to come before everyone else because he's spoken the least tonight. And I think the moderator was not just in giving him his right, so I will take that up right. We started the ayah saying that we have to be just even if it's against ourselves, but please.
Saif, you've been more than just. The topics, I'm humbled by listening to all the discussion of some very important issues for your community. And even though I think the environment is one of the worst problems we have to deal with climate change and the new Green Deal type of stuff, the Northern Virginia Soil Water Conservation District doesn't deal with that kind of advocacy. We deal with a community level. If you have flooding or drainage issues or want to design a rain garden or help with seedlings and buffers or have some educational programs that you would like, please contact me. I'll help. I'm running for the district director. The important day for me is May 21st when we have the Democratic Party endorsement. There are 4 people running, 3 directors will be endorsed. So that's the important part for me. I'm Chris Kerner. If you need some help, if you have drainage issues now, Saif has my contacts, Penny Gross has my contacts, and Abrar has my contacts, and I'd be glad to help you out now and get some of the very good staff, although the best engineer is on vacation in Iran right now, so you have to wait a couple weeks for him to come back. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this discussion. I've really enjoyed listening to the candidates. And my name is Chris Kerner, and I'm looking for your endorsement on May 21st. Thanks very much.
So Chris, I'm going to warn you that you may have just opened a big hole for yourself because there's a big pond that the mosque has been complaining about, and Penny knows this, that we need to talk about at some point. And I'm sure the whole community will get behind me on that, but we will talk about it.
I'm serious. I'll give you my...
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to Steve Descano next, and then we'll go to our school board members and candidates.
Thank you, Saif. And thanks, everybody, for having me. If there's one thing I want to leave you with, it's that I am running for Commonwealth's Attorney to reform our system. And my plan, Progressive Justice, is the plan that we need to reform that system. But I'll be honest with you. This election is not about me. This election is about whether we are going to live the values that we talk about every day. This election is about the type of world we're building for our kids and our grandkids. This election is about getting Fairfax County on the right side of history. And we have the opportunity on June 11th to put Fairfax County on the right side of history. And I'm asking each and every one of you to please go on my website, stevedescano.com, and join me in the movement to build a criminal justice system that is accountable and transparent, treats everybody equally, and builds up our communities instead of breaking them down, building a criminal justice system that puts us on the right side of history. Again, please join me, stevedescano.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start over here with Ms. Karen Keys-Gamarra. She's a member of school board at large, and then we'll go to the other member at large and go down from there.
First, I want to thank you for this opportunity to come and speak to you. I want you to know that I am running for re-election because my life's goal is to increase opportunity and to make sure that every resident in this Fairfax County in our system feels as though they have been treated equitably, and that includes our staff members. I'm a mother of 3 African-American boys. They look like me, which makes me worry about them.
Yeah.
And so I want you to know that as a parent who has watched her boys go through every step of Fairfax County schools, I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to send your firstborn to school while you're pregnant with your thirdborn and watch your son be placed in a remedial class, even though he's reading, even though he's been to preschool. And when I asked the teacher why she put my son in that class, she just kind of shrugged. And I said, just test him. Because he had me for a mother, and I knew what my young man was capable of. He was removed, and he was placed in a class where nobody else looked like him. Ever since that day, I have been fighting for opportunity for every child. As an attorney, I have represented hundreds of children, many of whom are attending Fairfax County schools right now. And I deal with them the way I deal with my own kids. And I say to the people who would dare hurt them, because I deal with abuse and neglect, and I said, oh no, homie, don't play that. So I want you to know that from the moment I stepped on the board, I have been fighting to bring the voices of the people who voted for me or the people who will vote for me on May 21st and in November, because I believe that that truly is my job. That's why I fought for advanced academics. That's why I put forth a budget amendment to reduce our discipline referrals. That's why I fought to increase our drug education, to make sure that we didn't just talk to high school students, but we warned children before they got involved. And that's why I have fought for staff members to make sure that their voices are heard. And I have recently been endorsed by the Fairfax Education Association because they believe in me, and I am grateful that I hope to have an additional time to fight on behalf of every person in our system. So I want you to know I appreciate this opportunity. I stand for equity, and I want you to know, should you vote for me again on May 21st and in November, I will not let you down. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moon.
Again, my name is Young Moon. I'm a school board member at large, running for re-election and seeking your endorsement vote on May 21st and your vote on November the 5th. That I know that I was given 30 seconds, but perhaps I need to use a little more than that. Thank you, thank you. A little while ago, when I was back there, I stood behind others doing their prayers. What I saw was beautiful and inspiring. Among other things, I saw not only the grown-ups, but small children. And what I saw was grown-ups teaching religious, family values and tradition to their kids. And I was thinking about my own two sons who were born in the US. I came from Korea at the age of 17. I'm an immigrant, speaking English with a heavy Korean accent. My kids were born in the US, American citizens, but still have a brown skin color. And in my own family, for the last close to 30 years, my kids are 31 and 27 now, I've been trying to teach my own family values, my own religious values and tradition to my own kids. We may have a different religions and different family values and traditions, but we all try to teach the right things to our own kids. And this Fairfax County, we have students and people from all over the world. We have more than 160 languages spoken in our school system. Students from more than 200 nations. That diversity is the strength of this community. And we need to continue embracing and celebrate that diversity. For the last 20 years as a school board member, I've been doing my best. I've been doing my best to provide same high-quality, equitable opportunities, all students, regardless of our backgrounds, so that all can become successful. Someone like me, who grew up in poverty, started as an ESL student with undereducated parents, mother working 2 full-time jobs as a housekeeper of a hotel and school custodian, also cleaning private homes on the weekend, but still believing in the value of education and hard-working ethics. Because if you focus on your work, then you can all be successful. I want all our students to be successful. I bring 20 years of experience, 3 years as a chairman, and 3 years as a vice chairman, their leadership to the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So, What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the district level, and then we'll do the at-large. Is that okay? Is everyone okay with that? So we'll start over here with Jung, and then Sabr. Yes.
Thank you. So I really have to say that I respect this community so much for organizing this and taking the time out on a Saturday night from 8 to 10 p.m. And that I look back on my own experiences where I remember my voice wasn't being heard, but more importantly, I remember thinking I didn't have a voice. So for each of you here today, I'm so happy that I'm seeing your presence here as acknowledging that each of you have a voice. And I want you to know that me running for office is so that even if you weren't here today, that you know that I am fighting for what you need, what you want, and that by fighting for every single group in Fairfax County, that we all rise together and we all succeed together, because that's what education and service is all about. So thank you very much for hosting me. I hope you sleep really well tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we'll go to Ricardy, then to Jessica.
Again, thank you so much for having all of us here. It's been fantastic to have the opportunity to speak with you. Similar to many of the folks on this panel, I'm an immigrant. My family and I, we came here from Haiti, where I came into a new country not knowing the language, not knowing the lay of the land. And that brings some challenges. And those are the challenges that I experienced growing up in Brooklyn. You know, my mother didn't feel that she had a voice, that she could advocate for me when she went into the schools. And I still think that's why I had the grade that I did in math class in 10th grade. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I share this because I understand the challenges that we're facing here in Mason District, particularly because we have a high number of families that look just like mine. Not only do I understand it from a personal point of view, but I understand it from a professional point of view. I have been working in education for 23 years, walking the halls of schools. I know how schools run. I know special education. I know discipline. I know curriculum. I have been advocating for our students each and every day, whether I had my 2nd grade classroom, my 8th grade classroom, or as a building principal. I've been a building principal for over 10 years, middle school and high school. And that work, that skill, those experiences are what is going to make me effective if I am elected on, well, if I'm endorsed on April 24th to be the Mason District representative. And we've talked a lot tonight about our teachers, how we value our teachers, how we want to make sure that they have a voice. Well, I also want to share with you that our teachers have spoken. And they have endorsed me. The Fairfax Education Association believe that I too can do the great job of representing them. And I would love to have your support to help me represent our teachers, our students, our schools, and our community. So please come out on April 24th. It is coming up very quickly, and vote for me, Ricardy Anderson, for the Mason District representative on the Fairfax County School Board.
Thank you. Jessica. And we're coming to an end, I promise.
All right, thanks so much. I'm Jessica Swanson. I'm running in Mason District on April 24th for school board. When my husband and I bought our house around the corner about 10 years ago, we thought we had made it. We were in Fairfax County, and we were psyched. We knew if we wanted to have a family here, our kids would have a great education. And then I became a neighborhood leader, and I found out that there were challenges in Fairfax beyond what the reputation holds. And advocating for our schools is what got me into politics, because I realized that Mason District had a ton of need that is different than around the whole system, and that our students here could have even more resources directed to them to do even better. And we have a lot of room to continue improving in Mason District, and that's what got me involved. And I'm the only candidate in this race who has been a long-term advocate for our schools. So starting from that place of neighborhood leadership, I advocated several years ago with folks from around the county for more funding for our schools so that we could pay our teachers better, so that we could meet our students' needs. I was the only candidate in this race who supported the name change from the start to the finish. We needed to remove that Confederate name here in our neighborhood high school, and I supported doing that. My day job is in education. I've spent it in the District of Columbia for my whole career. Like I said, I have district-wide budget experience, and so again, I'm going to bring that expertise to this work, and I want to see us pay our teachers better. I want to see us expand early childhood. We must make our schools safe and welcoming for all of our students, right? And we also must meet all of our students' needs. I really appreciate your consideration. Again, I have been here in the community working alongside our neighbors to improve our schools for many years. SwansonforFairfax.com is my website. You can learn more. I'll be happy to answer your questions tonight. And the election for the Democratic endorsement is on April 24th. And I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So last two. We'll start with Rachna, and then I'll have Abrar. I don't think anyone else. It's just Abrar, you can close it out.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Rachna Sizemore-Heiser, and I'm running for school board at large. There are 3 endorsement spots at the vote on May 21st. And I wanted to first say thank you for having this and giving us the opportunity to speak to you. I came here a couple weeks ago at the Taste of Islam, and I wanted to share how welcome and warm you all were to me. And when I walked in the door, I asked if I should cover my head because I wanted to be respectful. And the response that I got was, "It's okay, we welcome everyone as they are." And that statement, "We welcome everyone as they are," spoke to me more than anything has in the last few weeks. That should be our philosophy for our schools and our world. We welcome everyone as they are. I am also the child of immigrants. I grew up, I know how to bridge 2 cultures, trying to be American while also maintaining my culture, and also learning to love and respect our great country and our great democracy. I bring to you a long track record of getting things done. I am a parent of a child currently in our schools. I'm an attorney. I'm a longtime advocate that works on disability justice and juvenile justice issues. I am here because I want all of our schools to see every child for what they can do, not what they can't, and for who they are, not who they want them to be. I want our schools to give a strengths-focused education that is consistent regardless of what zip code you live in, and I bring you the skills to do it. I'm a college professor. I know our skills our kids need. I'm an employment attorney and a former management consultant, so I know how to take our programs and operationalize them down on the ground. And as the parent of a child in our schools right now, I know what is happening on the ground and how to address them. And finally, I bring to you 10 years of getting things done. I started this with my own son. My son has a disability, and when he was in 2nd grade, it was the first time he was allowed in the regular classroom. And when I went into that classroom, I did not find his desk with all the other children. I found his desk at the back of the room at a table by himself. That is not inclusion. That is not how we learn to live and accept each other. So I am running because I want everybody to be educated together. Because when we're educated together, that is how we accept each other, and that is how we get rid of the hate and have an incredible world. My name is Rachna Sizemore-Heiser. I am running for school board at large. I bring to you a breadth of skills, experience, and a passion for making our schools excellent for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Abrar Umesh.
All right, assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. So running for school board at large, I'll make this quick. The first thing is you guys have known me. I've grown up in this community. And I take pride in that. And you know, I'm one of the things that allows me to do is to look at our challenges and to face them optimistically. Because I was grown and raised and nurtured by this community, and I have a deep investment in it and a deep love for making it better. And the other thing I want to tell you is that this is actually personal to me. So, you know, growing up in this school system and seeing friends who fell short because of the inequities that existed, and mentioning that was why I'm running, those are the stories that I carry with me and thinking ahead of where I want to take our schools. You know, I obviously come from a particular community, and I understand, you know, the experience of being from that community. But I also want to advocate for every kid. And when I think of that, I'm thinking about race, I'm thinking about religion, I'm thinking about the language they speak at home, their immigration status, what gender identity or even sexual orientation they identify with. I'm thinking about, you know, whether they have a disability or a unique need. The family structure they come from. Maybe they come from a mixed home. Those are the challenges that I think our kids come with. And for us to provide a stellar education, to be proud of the education system that we offer, it can't be just when the healthier kids whose parents are involved are successful. It's when all of us are successful, and those are the categories I'm thinking about, and I'm trying to think of every child when I hope to sit on that school board. So I ask for your support May 21st, as they mentioned in the endorsement election, and then moving ahead in November. And until then, you can help, whether you're in the county or not, whether you're an FCDC member or not. You can join the team. It's been a grassroots effort. We're endorsed by the Secretary of Education, and we're excited to bring about great change. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now, we are concluded. I want everyone to give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for staying so late. Thank you for our candidates. I was supposed to close this out. I'm not going to. We've gone way over. But what I will say is, for the candidates, this is an open house. You are welcome here at any time, but we expect you here after you're elected too. We have several thousand people that pray here on Friday. You're welcome to come and speak to your constituents. They'll be happy to speak to you. If you want a table outside, I'm happy to accommodate that. Please feel free to come and stop by and talk to the constituents here at the prayers. And by the way, we have prayers all day long. As you saw, our first prayer starts at 5:30 in the morning, and our last prayer is at 9:10, and we've got 4 in between. So you're welcome here throughout the day. Yes, we're always here. And I promised Mariam she could close it out, so what are you going to say? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.